Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks Sunday Stream of Consciousness. How is everybody today? I was in such a rush coming off of Mac and Jack and Jim show that I forgot to run the promo. We're live on Northeast Stream Sports and simulcasting on Let's Talk Sports and also, of course, on TGI Sports Talk. And you can catch us Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, every place that you can normally catch us. I got to start uploading the podcast to the audio again. And so it's good to have you guys all with us. We got a lot to chat about today. Had a great, before I get into it, excuse me, I had a great interview with former NBA player Kermit Washington the other night that'll play on Thursday at 6 o'clock. Whoa, excuse me, 6 o'clock it'll debut. Sorry about that. We're still struggling a little bit. It'll debut 6 o'clock Saturday on TGI Sports Talk and Let's Talk Sports, and it'll replay a bunch of times after that. It was an interesting conversation. He's a man who's been through a bunch of highs and lows in his life, and the way he's dealt with them, I think, is exemplary. He tells his story the way he lived it and saw it from his perspective, from the Rudy T punch incident through some legal issues later on in his life here that, you know, he's just kind of gotten through here in the last year or two. But he's very inspirational guy, a nice man. And look, I think it was somebody who acted out of character with the whole Rudy T thing. So, and I think that comes across in this interview, and you'll see it Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Today, we got to talk about a lot of stuff, man. March Madness couldn't be much more mad than it's been the last couple of days. We'll go through the scores and where we're at now and what to look for going forward. We'll talk a little bit about some coaches potentially on the move, who's helping themselves and maybe who isn't. We'll get into WBC in baseball. The U.S. Advances on a grand slam home run by Trey Turner last night. They had a really back and forth game with Venezuela, but they move into the semifinals against Cuba, which I think is, what is that? I think it's today. We'll talk about that. Japan will play Mexico in the final. Japan will play Mexico, I think, tomorrow, unless I have those backwards. And the final is Tuesday. Rooting for the U.S. Japan's really good, though, and if they get to the final with Japan, I think Ohtani will pitch that game, and he's pitched tremendously during this whole tournament. We'll also get into the NFL, talk some free agency news, who the winners and losers are. The Aaron Rodgers saga continues. Both these teams think they're dealing from a position of strength, and I'll kind of give my opinion on who I think actually has the upper hand here. We'll see. We'll also look at our leaders. I'm a star. I don't know what the whole star thing is. I was doing some work on my page and I saw this. I don't know what you have to do, guys. If you get a chance and it doesn't cost you $1 gazillion, you can throw stars my way. That'd be awesome. But I don't know how it even all works. It's just something I thought I'd add as a potential for down the road. If that's what you're talking about. Drew, I'm not even sure. But good morning, Drew. Good to have you with us. Kenny's early to pester me today. Sorry about your Oral Roberts team. They just did not. Listen, we're going to talk about Oral Roberts. We're going to talk about the whole tournament. We'll get into these games. Oral Roberts did not play well. They fought hard. They fell behind 15-0, I think. And as I told Kenny in a chat the other day, I think Oral Roberts got no respect here because while obviously they're not the best team in the tournament, I think it was an injustice for them to be a 12 seed and have to have that matchup so early in the tournament anyway. Good morning, Rick. Good to have you with us. I don't think you want those Dallas Cowboy tickets that Mac was referring. Jim Jeffco's going to get you. Good morning, CA. Good to have you with us this morning and this Sunday morning. Kenny saying good morning to Rick. Well, you know what? Some teams are. That team's really good, and they played good competition all year. I mean, the only team they really lost badly to is Houston, which is the number one seed in this tournament. All their losses were on the road to teams in the tournament. So I just feel like, you know, their tournament also got over earlier, so they sat around for a while. I'm not making excuses for them. Yes, Duke's a better program than Oral Roberts, obviously. I think if this had happened after they got a game under their belt, if they had been a higher seed, I think they should have been in an 8-9 game myself. But that's just me. Purdue. Kansas isn't a bad loss. Arkansas is a good basketball team. I had Kansas going out against Arkansas. I've got Arkansas going to the Elite Eight. I've got them winning one more game, beating UConn. That's why I'm not too worried. I'll talk about the brackets in our my bracket of integrity, because I have a few brackets around in different pools. I have Marquette winning them all. But I've only lost one, I think, Elite Eight teams and no Final Four teams. With all the madness we've had, I'm very happy with where I stand right now. But we'll review that real quickly as well. I had Arkansas winning. So FDU, a 16 beating a 1 is by far a worse beatdown than a 8 beating a 1. I mean, Purdue, listen, FDU, the coach had even talked about it. He didn't talk about it much before the game because it was very smart not to. Been good bulletin board material, but he liked the matchup with Purdue. He knew his guys and his man-to-man would work really well against this team. He felt he's got veteran guards, which I keep telling you guys means so much in this tournament. That's why the mid-majors and the smaller schools, the Princetons, the FDUs, the Furmans, that was a more shocking win than the Kansas loss. Was Furman beating Virginia on such an incredibly bad inbounds play near the end of the game where Virginia had. They're just throwing the ball around. Kid just throw the ball over his head, basically. So there's some bad losses here. But again, because these schools don't have the experience and veteran leadership that the smaller schools have. That's why these kids can compete like never before. We only saw a 16 beat a 1 for the last time, or for the second time out of 101 chances, I think now, if I'm right. But it's not the last. We're seeing 15s win all the time. Not all the time, but you know what I'm saying. They've got a better chance to win than they've ever had because of experience. Experienced guard play takes you a long ways. Drake the other night probably should have beat Miami. And I've got Miami going to the Elite Eight, and I've got some, personal allegiance to Miami. But Drake probably should have won that game. They aren't deep, but they got a bunch of fifth-year seniors. The other schools don't have that type of experience, and it shows up in these games. Definitely late to fill up. I did say, but did anyone see the fantasy baseball league created? I did not. It's not too late to fill up. We still got a couple weeks, right? Or a week anyway, 10 days. So send it to me so that I can put it in on the TGI Sports Talk page. Send me the link. You can put it in this chat if you want. And I'll copy it and put it on the TGI Sports Talk page. I'll put it on my personal page, and I'll put it in the little chat group that we have as well. Maybe I should add you to that chat, by the way, CA. So do that. We'll do that. Today, and so guys, get in that. When you see that, please get in. We'll have some fun with the TGI Sports Talk Fantasy League. Weekly, Rick, I know I told CA I could not do another daily. Dailies are a grind, and weeklies are easy. Check them Mondays or Tuesdays, wherever the week starts. And then you go from there. Today is sitting at Carlos' corner about coaching. I think Davis, Howard, Walters all need to go. Davis is a coward for not letting his kids play in the NIT. I don't know. I look at the way I understand it. This wasn't the coach's decision. He asked the kids. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I heard the story was that he asked the kids if they wanted to play, and they said no. So the NIT, still has its worth. I mean, you get some experience in a tournament. A lot of times these teams go anyway, and they go out in the first round. You saw what happened to Rutgers. And but again, there are times that coaches need to go. I don't know that I'm in favor of dumping Hubert Davis just yet. He's only in the second year. He's replacing a legend. And it's not like they totally bottomed out like they did with Matt Doherty. After he replaced Bill Guthridge, who replaced Dean Smith, but even Bill Guthridge, in a way, was a legendary figure in North Carolina because he'd been Dean Smith's right-hand man for so long. And I don't know why, but I'm not on the Howard and Walters. Help me out, Rick. I don't know where. I'm not sure where they are. If the kids said no, then get new kids. Well, there is that. I don't know. It's hard for these major programs. The NIT really means nothing except for getting kids experience. And if kids are going to be one and done, and the goal is to win the NCAA tournament or make the NCAA tournament even, then I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with the whole thing as far as the NIT and teams that decide they don't want to go. I'm okay if some of the teams that got shafted and want to go play in a tournament, the Bradleys of the world, right, who had really good regular seasons, in my mind, should have been in the NCAA tournament over some of these teams like, going to do it again, West Virginia, Mississippi State, maybe Nevada. Nevada I don't really have a problem with, although they got creamed by Arizona State, but start putting these teams that are really good second teams in these mid conferences. Oh, that's you're talking about right. But not who's the other guy you talked about here, Rick? Oh, Walters doesn't coach. That's Matt Painter. Matt Painter at Purdue. Matt Painter at Purdue is going to start feeling some heat, and so is Juwan Howard. Michigan underperformed most of the year again this year, like they did a lot last year. He had one good run, I think, during the COVID season. And they've struggled since. They struggled in the tournament last year. This year they got to a horrible start, and they had to make a run late in the season to get there, and didn't get there. Yeah. So, but Matt Painter, listen, year after year, he's got some of the best teams in the country. But that game against FDU is exactly the kind of game major conference teams, even number one rated teams, lose because of inexperience in the backcourt. If you're going to continue to draft kids that are going to be one and done, two and done, whatever it is, and not get kids experience behind them, well, that's what's going to happen because they couldn't get the ball to Eddie in the middle. Well, I'll take you at your word there, and if that's the case, then yes, I will give a demerit to Hubert Davis. The coach should not make that decision. Although coaches have made stranger decisions. I still remember Al McGuire refusing to take his team to the NCAA tournament in 1970 with the number one team in the country because he didn't like his seeding. He went to the NIT and won, but gave up a chance to win a national championship. Arizona lost worse. Well, hello, Teddy Boy. Good to have you with us. First-time viewer, if I'm not mistaken. We're glad to have you with us. Hope you'll like and follow the show and certainly share it with your friends. Arizona losing to Princeton. Listen, I don't think it's a worse loss. I personally don't think that loss is worse than the FDU Purdue loss, or even what was the other one I was going to look at? Or even the Virginia loss to Furman, just because of the way they went down. Princeton's an underrated team. This is a team again that's a better than a 15 seed. They're more athletic than you would think. They shoot threes like nobody else, and they play a style that is different than these guys will see all year long. Not a good loss for sure when you're a 2 seed losing to a 15 ever. But I would rank that. I mean, if I had to rank those losses, I would still rank Purdue worse, Virginia second, Arizona third is how I'd rank those three losses. Do I think Princeton? Listen, Princeton's got an excellent shot here. They're going to get the winner of Creighton and Baylor today. They're going to, and if they were to win that, which they would have every chance, they're going to get San Diego State or Baylor. I'm sorry, San Diego State or Alabama in the Elite Eight, anything could happen. There's every chance Princeton could find their way to the Final Four here. After what I've witnessed, I will not say they can't. The only team I'm going to tell you right now that's left that can't get to the Final Four is probably Fairleigh Dickinson. All these teams that are left, even the ones that are playing today, I think every one of them would have an opportunity to get to the Final Four. There's a possibility we get no number ones in the Final Four. I had 3 of them going out in the by the second round. The only one I had getting through was Alabama, and we did have 2 of them getting out early, as I predicted. Houston, I did predict Houston to get beat yesterday by actually by Iowa, but even by Auburn. And they had a 10-point deficit, really at almost a home game for Auburn in Birmingham. And a great comeback. You know, to me, I'm most impressed. As far as the higher seeds, Alabama and Houston, I'm most impressed with. Houston is never out of a game. Never out of the game. Overcoming that 10-point deficit. Sasser played really well. Didn't seem to be bothered by the injury yesterday at all. So I'm pretty impressed with Houston. I still have them losing in this bracket to Texas. I'll get Texas going to the Final Four. I'm still happy. You know, even when my early bracket kind of blown up because these upsets I had didn't happen. Other upsets happened. I've still got, I think, 7 out of 8 in the Elite Eight and all my Final Four teams. And my winner, obviously, is Marquette. So I'm very confident that I can come back. Our TGI Sports Talk standings, and I'm not going to read everybody. Well, I'll go through them quick because I don't know who these people are. I've got to put out props to my boy Augustin, though. I don't think he's with us today out in Oregon, who is in first place with, where is he? He's at 350 points. He can max out at 1390. He's got Gonzaga to win it all. I don't know who HFU Steve is. I don't know who that is. He's got a few brackets, but he's in second and third. Rocky Top, I'm not sure. Could be Robert Butler. Boss Dawes, I don't know. The Mad New Yorker, obviously, I do. Kenny, I don't know what yours is. Or anybody else, to be honest with you, other than Alan at last place. Sorry, Alan does have Marquette winning. And the guys who really took it on the nose with the number 1s and 2s going out. Arizona was the Mad New Yorker. He was out early. Kansas, Boss Davis, don't know who that is. Boss Dawes, excuse me, I don't know who that is. Duke is one of HFU Steve's picks, as was Arizona, as was Penn State. I don't know who the sports nut is. So anybody who might have heard these, this tournament's still wide open. What do you got here? Teddy Boy. Let me get in his comments. Got a lot of stuff here. Were you surprised they beat Missouri? Missouri. My wife was getting on me last night for saying Missouri because that's how the late Mark Littell, one of my favorite interviews I've done, former relief pitcher with the Kansas City Royals, taught me how to say Missouri. I wasn't surprised they beat Missouri, no, actually, and I was very happy because in a survivor pool I'm in, worth $6,200. I'm still alive. I'm taking Xavier today. You can only pick a team once. 78 people went out on Missouri yesterday, so I was very happy to see that. And Missouri, listen, Princeton's a more athletic team than you think, and I was happy to see that. What else you got here, Teddy Boy? Think Kansas State and Kentucky. I think that'll be a great game. I do. I've got Texas going to the Final Four, beating Gonzaga, actually. I think Michigan State. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Marquette does not have an easy. I've got Marquette coming out of this bracket, and I've also got them winning the whole tournament. They don't have an easy march. They've got Michigan State. They're going to get the winner of Kentucky, Kansas State. Potentially, if they get past that, they're going to probably have Tennessee. who's playing better now all of a sudden, plays really good defense. That game yesterday with Duke was like playing in the mud yesterday. But that's I think it might be the toughest road to the Final Four of anybody right now. Although what bracket is this over here? Why don't you tell me what the frickin' region is? I hate this. That's too funny. They don't give me the... Anyway, the bracket that Gonzaga's in, it's not an easy path either. I like, because you got UConn probably going to... Let's say Mary's UConn, I think, is an interesting matchup today, too. I like that. That's going to be an interesting matchup right here in Albany. I should have gone today. Got to go look at a house, so... Yeah, Tom Izzo's tough in March. This is not one of his better Michigan State teams, Teddy, but, again, Tom Izzo gets it done when he needs to. So just quickly looking back at some of the scores from earlier in the week, the teams that were really surprising, no surprises there. Obviously, Princeton beating Arizona was a surprise. Duke winning as big as they won over Oral Roberts was a surprise. Furman, to me, that's one of the worst losses, only because of the way it happened. Virginia had that 2-point lead. All they have to do is inbound the ball and make a foul shot, and the game's over. And the kid gets it. He gets trapped a little bit. He's got a timeout, and he just throws the ball basically up over his head. And if Furman gets it, comes down, hits a winning three-pointer. Again, because experience is so lacking in these major programs. San Diego State, one of the surprise, I wouldn't say they're a surprise. They've been in the Sweet 16 quite a few times over the last decade, let's say, with Steve Fisher. And the staff that's run there now is all people that Steve Fisher had there. And a lot of them were the tacticians for this team. So, listen, San Diego State is not a huge surprise here. Tennessee has started to play better basketball. I had them losing to Louisiana in the first round, who gave them a tough struggle. West Virginia, one of the teams they say should not have been in. Not surprising, they lost in the first round. They had a big lead this game, too, and blew it. Arkansas, I like a lot. Eric Musselman is a great coach. Keep your shirt on, though, Eric. I mean, that's embarrassing. This is a team that I was really high on last year. If you remember, I prompted them early. I had a futures bet on them that I bet middle of the season that would have been worth about $8,000. They didn't play as well in the tournament as I thought they would. This year, they're playing really well. They had a lot of injuries during the year and some other stuff that kind of caused some up and downs through the season. But now they're playing some of their best basketball, and they're in a region where I think they could easily get to the Final Four. I've got them in the Elite Eight, losing to Gonzaga. Iowa, just a disappointment again. Great. Fran McCaffrey can never get out of the 32. Around the 32, he doesn't even get out of the first round this year. Northwestern, a great story with Chris Collins, Doug Collins' son, former Duke player. He's doing a great job at a school that is not known for its basketball program. Marquette handled Vermont easily. We'll see them today against Michigan State. Gonzaga kind of let Grand Canyon hang. This game was never in doubt, but they let Grand Canyon hang around a little bit too long. They've got a matchup today. Who do they got today? Where am I? Let's look over here. They got TCU today. Another good matchup and another fun game to take a look at, I think. UConn struggled in the first half. Iona played, and Rick Pitino said this, played their best half of basketball the first half of that game against UConn here in Albany. But talent took over in the second half, and UConn played a tremendous second half, outscored them 50-24 to run away with that game in Albany. Now the Rick Pitino watch starts because St. John's is after him big time. There's some guys, big time donors to the school who are willing to pony up a bunch of money for Rick Pitino. The problem there is the facilities are not good. There's no campus. It's hard to recruit. Mike Anderson did a good job, though, recruiting quality players, but he couldn't coach them. Rick Pitino, you can say what you want about Rick Pitino. He was absolved of any wrongdoing at Louisville. and he was basically ostracized for it. Iona was the only one that would give him a job. And he said then it was going to be his last job. But look, he's 70 years old. He said he wants to coach 10 more years. He wants another shot at a national championship. He's not going to get it at Iona. He may not get it at St. John's. So Texas Tech, by the way, is a live player for Rick Pitino. I'll get to your comments in a second, guys. Baylor, UC Santa Barbara is a team that I thought was going to maybe do some damage in this tournament. I did have them going to the Sweet 16, but they went down rather meekly to Baylor. Xavier's playing well. They'll play today against I just had this. I'm taking Xavier today. I don't know who they're playing. Oh, Pittsburgh. Surprising Pittsburgh team. Jeff Capel's done a great job there. He started the year as the coach most likely to get fired, and he's done a great job getting this team into the tournament number one, winning the first four, and now winning his first game. So only one team has ever gone from the first four to the final four. That's VCU under Shaka Smart. I want to say 2012, maybe 2011. Miami struggled through this game with Drake the other night. Miami's got to play a lot better against Indiana today if they're going to get out. Their best player, Wong, ACC Player of the Year, was just not good. Drake played tremendous for about 55 minutes. I'm sorry, how many? 35 minutes of this game. No, 60 minutes they play, right? I'm sorry. Jesus, good God. 55 minutes of this game. There's my Perth education again. And then they just kind of ran out of gas. They were shooting up air ball after air ball, and they didn't go very deep into the bench, and that's what happens. But great veteran leadership gave them a chance to win this game. Again, my point is made. St. Mary's played really well against one of my other teams I thought might go a little bit deeper in VCU. They handled them pretty well, 63-51. Nice matchup with them and UConn today here in Albany. Indiana beats Kent State. They'll play Miami today. Memphis, Florida Atlantic beats Memphis. Memphis, to me, along with the ones and twos that have been out already, is probably the most disappointing team in this tournament. They were winning. They were playing great basketball. They nearly beat Houston twice in a week. They did beat them for the conference championship with Sasser out for Houston, but they pull up a stinker against a really good FAU team. And FAU, Florida Atlantic, will play Fairleigh Dickinson today. Interesting matchup there. And the winner will play Princeton. Interesting. That's how sometimes these brackets and how sometimes these teams can move through. Creighton, who had a bad middle of the season, they were picked to win the Big East, kind of struggled early, really turned it on late. This is a team you got to watch out for. They'll play today as well. Purdue, we already know, got beat by Fairleigh Dickinson, and Fairleigh Dickinson gets her second game today. Kentucky beats Providence fairly handily. I don't think Providence really ever was in this game in my mind. And Kentucky will get K-State today, as Teddy mentioned earlier. TCU survives Arizona State. I think Bobby Hurley saved his job at Arizona State by making the tournament, winning in the first four, and even playing well here in this TCU game. J.B. Dixon's TCU team was down most of this game and really valiantly fought back. And Pittsburgh with a nice win over Arizona State in the first round. And again, they'll get Xavier today. And yesterday's games, which we already pretty much know, we'll cover them quickly. San Diego State just dismantles Furman after their big win against Virginia. San Diego State, watch out. They're going to get Alabama next. They could beat Alabama. It's a good defensive team. Mountain West is underrated. Underrated. They've had a lot of teams get to the Sweet 16 over the past decade, and San Diego State is just the latest. And that's been San Diego State, I think, and Nevada are the only ones that have done it. Tennessee, a revived Tennessee, wins a great defensive struggle yesterday against a good Duke team, 65-52. Arkansas, we've already talked about, well coached. Nice win over Kansas. Kansas fouls too much. They don't have inside perimeter defense. They're small. They didn't have their head coach and Bill Self. All that said, they're your number one seed. You need to take care of business. They didn't do it. Princeton, we know, beats Missouri. Houston just dismantles Auburn in the second half. Auburn just imploded. They had a 10-point lead at halftime. They only scored 23 points. They got to score by 27 points in the second half. Just could not shoot the basketball. Penn State fought valiantly, but loses to Texas, who I do have in the Final Four. In the final, actually, losing to Marquette. UCLA 68-63 over Northwestern. Tough. Northwestern fought hard in this game. UCLA, with a couple of their top players out. Actually, Jaquez is back. He was one of the injured guys, but they're not getting Martin back, so they're going to have to do it with depleted forces, playing well, and that bracket might line up for UCLA. I do have them losing to Gonzaga eventually, and Alabama just dismantled Maryland. And today's games, we'll get to your comments real quick. I like Pittsburgh to lose to Xavier. As I said, they'll be my pick in the survivor pool today. Will be Xavier. Kentucky and Kansas, good matchup. I like Kansas State to get through this. Marquette, Michigan State. There's some really good matchups for the second round here. Tough matchups. Marquette's going to have to really work, I think, to beat Tom Izzo here, but I'd like Marquette to win. UConn should get by St. Mary's, but St. Mary's is sneaky good. Creighton and Baylor, I'm going to take the upset here. Creighton beating Baylor. Not a huge upset, but an upset nonetheless. Florida Atlantic and Fairleigh Dickinson, it's a 16 and a 9. It's tough. I'll take Florida Atlantic, but don't count FDU out. Miami and Indiana, I'll take Miami because my heart says it is, and I've got them in the Elite Eight. They got to play a whole lot better than they played the other night. That game is until 8:40 tonight. Another late night for Keith. And a really good matchup at 9:40 on TBS, TCU and Gonzaga. I'm going to take Gonzaga here. Let me get to your comments. I've been avoiding you guys. Well, not avoiding you, but let's see what we got here. We got a lot of them here. Michigan, I think we did that one. I think CA, ESPN Second Chance Tournament Challenge closes in about 14 hours. Maybe we can open up another one. We'll see if I get a chance today. I got a busy day. I got to go look at a house. I got to... live allow link to weekly. Yeah, do that, please. Post it, CA, and we'll get some guys in there. You don't think Xavier's playing that well? Listen, they didn't play well against Marquette in the conference final. I thought they played okay in the first round. I think it's a really good team. But as we look at, they could go out today, right? But I don't want to take other teams because, again, in a Survivor Challenge, I can only take teams once. I have to pick somebody. I've already gone the other three regions, so the worst thing can happen to you in the NCAA Survivor pool is you get to the Final Four and you've picked every team. So now I'm trying to pick teams that I do not have going much further, but will still win today. Xavier may not be playing their best basketball, but they're better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just snuck in this tournament. They're playing good. Look, they've won 2 games. They're coming from the first 4. And maybe they'll be that team like VCU was and go from first 4 to Final 4, but I don't think so. What do you got here, Teddy? Kennesaw State should have beaten Xavier. I don't know. Why do we think that? They must have played Friday, right? I know they gave him a game for a little bit, but Xavier, you're right, only won by 5. Should have, but didn't, right? I mean, again, sometimes you got to get a game under your belt, and then you're fine. Upsets happen early, and they could get upset today by Pittsburgh. But as you go through the tournament, the chalk usually starts to become, I should say, the chalk starts to level out and rise to the top. That's what tends to happen in these tournaments. That's why you don't get a lot of 11 and 12s. It can happen, and it may happen this year. Heck, you might get a 15. But, the further you go, the better the good teams are. And Xavier gets by that game. That's why I think Xavier now will spring. I think I've only got him winning one more game. So I'm not saying Xavier's going very far. Purdue lacked aggressive demeanor. Again, Carlos, I've tried to point this out to you specifically for a long time. Veteran guard play. FDU had it, had a game plan. Purdue could not get the ball to Eddie as the game wore down because they have inexperienced guards. That's the deal. That's the deal. And that's why these teams, again, the FDUs of the world, the mid-majors and small, even smaller schools like FDU, St. Peter's last year, they've got a chance to win these games because they have more experience. And it matters in these big games and big moments. You know what? Do not take away. We do this all the time. Fairleigh Dickinson had something to do with the way Purdue was able to approach this game. Now, could they have been more aggressive? Sure, but they just got beat. Listen, that day, FDU was a better team and better coached. You know what? Again, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I was really saying this was Rick Barnes' best team. Then they went in the tank. Their problem is they can't put the ball in the basket. Now, yesterday, Duke put the ball in the basket less. Tennessee's defense is really good. Probably, again, Rick Barnes' best defensive team ever. But they got to put the ball in the basket, and they've had a lot of trouble doing it. But this bracket makes it possible that they can still get to the Final Four now. Arizona State did very well what they had. Bobby Hurley certainly saved his job, I believe, with his effort, his team's effort at the end of the season in the Pac-12 and his dismantling of Nevada in the first four and almost winning this game in the first round. It'll take a couple minutes. I'll check back here about 5 minutes after the show. It should be in the comments. Okay, very good. Put it in my messenger if you would as well, just so it's easier for me to find, would you, CA? Thank you. Northwestern was very gritty. They were down significantly in this game. Fought back. These are the time again. Northwestern isn't a mid-major, but they're not a major basketball school, so they don't have kids going there that are one and done. That's another example of a team and a good coach. He knows his players' strengths, and they played a really good. They made a really good effort against UCLA, and I think Chris Collins did a great job. Chris Collins may not be long for Northwestern. He's done a great job there over the time he's been there. I'm surprised he's been there like 10 years now. What time does Indiana? And let me get back to the schedule here. Indy and Miami, I think, is at 8. I think it's at 8:40. But I'll tell you for sure here. 8:40 TNT. Game played right here in Albany, New York, guys. They've had some good games down here so far. But by the way, CBS and the NCAA, you got to do a better job of scheduling. You can't have a game in Albany, New York, starting at 10:35 at night. That's when the Indiana. I don't remember who Indiana played now. Doesn't matter. That game started at 10:35. Just a bad. And plus you can't buy. Well, I guess you could. They were trying to get 6,000 people out who didn't have tickets for the second half of the doubleheader. They had tickets for the first two games, didn't have tickets for the second two games. So they're trying to get 6,000 people out, 15,000 people in, and just again. Here, I'm going to put my my email. I'm going to put my email in here. Oh, wait. I'm going to put my email in here, CA. There we go. So send it there. Indiana, Kent State, thank you. That game can't start at 10:35 on the East Coast. That's just crazy. I mean, it can start at 10:35 if it's being played in California. It can't be played in Albany and start at 10:35. Why can't college football do the same as basketball? In what regard? again, we're heading towards a 16-team playoff. Sorry, Basement Bob, don't sue me again. But I don't think we can do 64 teams. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, Kenny, but I do want to see, again, NCAA football, 16 teams. You got I think 10 conferences that play. It's not nearly as many as basketball. The conference champions go, and 6 at-larges. I don't know why I get all these posts. Anyway, so that's where March Madness stands. I've still got my teams alive, as I said. I sit in the middle. I don't know who all these people are. I just know Alan and I think just Alan, and I know Kenny's got a bracket. I don't know what the name is in there. So I've still got Alabama and I got Arizona out. So I got Alabama in the Elite Eight still alive. I've got Tennessee in the Elite Eight still alive. I've got Marquette in the Elite Eight still alive. I've got Arkansas and Gonzaga in the Elite Eight still alive, and I've got Xavier and Miami and Texas in the Elite Eight still alive. So, and the Final Four, obviously, I have Texas, Gonzaga, Alabama, and Marquette, my winning team. Marquette beating Texas in the final. You can see my sheet of integrity on the TGI Sports Talk brackets on ESPN. All right, what else we got here, guys, before I move on? The NCAA should get rid of the rule about needing to play Division I for a year. I definitely agree with this. We had an instance, and I can't remember who it was now. We had an instance. It happened both in baseball. It happened in basketball. Happened in basketball here. It also happened in football to either Old Dominion. Was it Old Dominion or was it James Madison? One of those teams won their league and was ineligible for a bowl because of it. Their time. Why aren't you eligible 1 year? Why do you have to wait? Most teams aren't going to be good enough anyway. I wish I could remember the team this year that wasn't able to win their. Might have been the team. It might have been the league Fairleigh Dickinson won. Now that I think about it, I think college football should have a host city for the Final Four for both semifinal games. That's probably not a bad idea, and I think if they were to expand to 16 teams, you might see something like that. And I think it would be a great experience, right? You could play both semifinals and a final in one spot, just like basketball does. That idea I like a lot. Let me see if I can figure out. Because I think that team couldn't even play. I can go through this quickly. I might find who we're talking about as far as wasn't eligible this year. I don't know why I want to say it was. It's interesting because if I'm right, see, I'm just not sure. Just not sure. I can't pick it out. Merrimack. The Merrimack Warriors. Yes. Interesting enough, Merrimack was left out of the tournament because they have to wait 4 years, I think, before they're eligible to play in the NCAA tournament. Fairleigh Dickinson only got in because of that rule. So we would have missed out on a 16-1. Maybe Merrimack beats Purdue too, but that's all right, Kenny. No worries. I didn't block you. Just kidding. No, it's 4 years. I'm sorry. It is 4 years. I think I just corrected myself a second ago. I was saying this year there were instances in college football and in college basketball where they weren't eligible. And it was Merrimack Warriors out of the Northeast Conference that was ineligible. They won the conference and ineligible to play because of that rule. I also believe the men's and women's channels should be played together at the same place the same day. Well, not a bad idea either, Kenny. It would help the women's. I think it would help the women's case as far as getting exposure. They'd have to start that game. Well, they still have plenty of time to get that game in. We don't start the final till about 9:15. You could play it 6:30, but you'd have to move it up, or move the final back to the weekend like it was years and years ago. It wasn't always Monday night. You should look at one of the betting sites for advertising. I saw a podcast with someone with less knowledge and betting know-how. Who was that, Carlos? Sorry, Carlos. I would love to get some, actually, I'm going to see how things go. I know Dan Harrison, if Dan Harris is watching, he's done a great job. He's had some betting sites that have done some advertising on Let's Talk Sports. So we'll get there someday. What do you got here, Teddy? I'm not watching when I watch here and there. It's just not something I can get too excited about. So we'll move past basketball for the moment. We can certainly circle back because this is the Stream of Consciousness show on this Sunday morning. But I want to dive into some baseball news, and we'll get into some NFL. What time we got? 9:15, 9:17, something like that. Let's dive into my favorite topic, the World Baseball Classic. And I got a couple of things to talk about here. This is an important tournament. If you didn't watch my vlog, please go to TGI Sports Talk. I'm going to repost it again a couple of times. And I was a little worked up Friday because of some of the comments made by Mets fans and baseball fans in general about some of the injuries, specifically Edwin Diaz. This is an important tournament, guys. I don't care if you like it or not. These guys could have got hurt. Altuve's hurt now a little bit. Freddie Freeman got banged up. Edwin Diaz out for the year. Could have happened anywhere. Edwin Diaz didn't get hurt throwing a baseball, by the way. He got hurt because he was celebrating and took a bad step. And these guys, and here's my biggest problem. You guys, not necessarily you guys, but you guys who are posting and knocking players for going to play in the WBC and not showing respect for the teams that you play for and they pay you. Well, you people also get all over these players for playing for nothing but money. All they care about is the money, the money, the money. And then when they go do something and they don't get paid a nickel, they do it for pride. They do it for playing for their country's honor, if you will, or their descendants' country's honor in some of the cases, like Freddie Freeman and Xander Bogaerts and Matt Harvey. Keep playing. There was somebody for Israel as well. Jock Peterson played for Israel. So you're playing for your heritage's pride and honor. When they go play for nothing and have fun and play hard doing it, and you chastise them for that. Mike Trout has said this is the most fun he's ever had playing baseball. Now that could also be a knock on the Angels, quite frankly. But this is a fun tournament, an important tournament that means something to a lot of these countries, including the U.S. These guys want to win. Don't tell me these games, and again, I know Drew will disagree with me. I'm not saying exhibition baseball games aren't important because guys are trying to win jobs, kids are trying to get noticed. So the games are important from that standpoint, but the results of the games mean nothing. That's why I don't care for exhibition baseball. I'll watch a little bit of it to kind of see a few players, but I can record the Yankee game and fly through it, and that's what I want to do. I want to watch these games. Now I had a problem with the scheduling because I had to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch USA play their first couple games, but now they're at least at 7 o'clock. This is important for baseball to get a foothold elsewhere, and it has. It's got a foothold. These teams in the Netherlands, Israel, Italy, where they weren't even competitive or even able to get in the field previously, are now very competitive. Italy made it to the quarterfinals. Netherlands almost made it to the quarterfinals. They're playing really good baseball, and it's a chance for these kids And some guys in these foreign countries, in the Netherlands and Israel, Italy, they're never going to play in the major leagues, but they get a chance to play against some of the best players in the world. There's a lot of pride involved, as there should be in all of baseball. So, Met fans, I'm really sorry Edwin Diaz is out for the year, but he could have got hurt anywhere. And don't tell me, now they got to pay. They don't pay any money. Major League Baseball, there's insurance policies on all these guys. His $20 million or whatever he's making will get paid. They'll be out a pitcher. And I backed him up with the guy who might do all the closing for the Mets anyway on my team. So just stop. This thing is played every 4 years, and it's doing a great job of promoting baseball throughout the globe. U.S. Yep. We got the U.S. versus Cuba. Let me see. When are they playing? I was looking at this. I don't know if I said it right. Yeah, Cuba and the U.S. is today at 7 p.m. I'll have to. Fortunately, I don't have as many college games going as once. I'll be able to put this on one of my screens. And tomorrow will be Japan and Mexico. Japan's really good, by the way. USA last night, it was a great game against Venezuela. They got out to a pretty good lead, USA. They lost it. And then Trey Turner hits a grand slam, I think in the 7th inning. And then the bullpen shuts down Venezuela. Venezuela come out of that pool C. Was a pool C? Which pool were they in? I wanted to go here. I think it was pool C. That was loaded. That pool was loaded. So pool C was the Americans, but they still had Mexico and the United States. And Canada didn't play badly. Freddie Freeman's a great story, playing there instead of for the U.S. to honor his late mother, who died long ago, but was of Canadian heritage. But Pool D was loaded with Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican. And Puerto Rico and Venezuela advanced out of that pool. These games were a lot of fun. They're a little long. And no, I don't want the rules and put that Major League Baseball is put in, but I mean, you can still speed the game up a little bit. So as your own fall down, girls. No, I agree with you, Kenny. The girls do play very good basketball. And they play probably a better fundamental game than the men do in a lot of cases, because they don't have. I'll probably get in trouble for this. Sorry, they just don't have the same athletic ability that the guys do. They just don't. But they can still play fundamental basketball and be very good at it. So, but it's hard. I've never, and not that you're wrong, Kenny, at all. I just never have been able to get into the games as much, and maybe I should have, and it's probably my fault. There's just so much else going on. I do think it will be the USA against Japan in the championship, and Japan, I think, is the best team in the tournament because they also have pitching. The bullpen for the and the U.S. knew this. They were very weak in starting pitchers. I mean, Wainwright and Lynn are probably the best two starting pitchers. That's why Lynn pitched last night, and the kid from San Diego, I forget his name right now, went home. Is it listed here? I had his name earlier. Oh, now I just got out of it altogether. What was that kid's name? Drew went home because he wasn't going to pitch anymore. And he decided he was going to go home. It was this. He didn't decide. The team and he decided that he would go home. I can't find it now. It's not a big deal. But their bullpen's been very good. Now the problem is in this final, I'm pretty sure the U.S. lineup, which is really loaded, is going to face Ohtani, who's been lights out in this tournament, and he's lights out in general. So we'll see. What do you got here? Altuve, Cavalli. And, of course, Diaz injuries. I just don't care about the injuries. I mean, I don't want guys to get hurt. Freddie Freeman's hurt, too, by the way. Not as seriously as these guys. But you know what? If they're in spring training, other than Diaz, because you don't normally have these big celebrations in exhibition games in baseball, Major League Baseball, these guys could have very well got hurt playing in the spring training game. So, again, this is an important tournament, and it's worthwhile to continue to play every 4 years. I'm sorry, and I give credit to the guys who go and play for nothing other than pride. If USA had their best pitchers, they could beat Japan, I think. Best starting pitchers, yes. I think so, too. I think they may beat Japan. I'm not saying they won't. Their lineup is really good, so they're never out of the game. But, I mean, I think if the best starting pitchers decided to go, and it's not like the USA didn't want, Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander or whoever else you want to mention, but they didn't want to go, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's their decision. Teams are well aware of the risk, and most of the teams are very good about allowing their players to go, and that's why there's insurance taken out on these guys. They're the same risks, right? It's all, again, I guess the one injury that I could say probably wouldn't have happened in spring training was Diaz, because, I mean, if you're celebrating spring training wins like that, then your prospects for the regular season probably are not very good. Teddy's played fast pitch softball with Keith and coached women, but I put my women team against any men's team. I think I'm being dissed there, Kenny. I'm not sure. No, listen, I'm not. Listen, women can play very well in the sports that they play. They just, again, if they played men's teams, they're not going to win, right? Now, the best women's team, let's take fast pitch softball, right? If you take the best women's team in the world against, probably us guys, Kenny, when we were playing, they'd probably beat us. I don't disagree with that. But the best men against the best women are going to lose all the time. Cuba and the U.S. should be a really good game, but Japan is the cream. I definitely agree with that comment. I'm looking forward to the game tonight, and we'll certainly keep a close eye on that. Lynn's a workhorse. Howard never had elite stuff. By the way, did you take a look at the poor guy? Lance Lynn looks like me on the mound. I mean, this guy gets bigger every year. And Lance Lynn is a workhorse and has been very good throughout his career with the Cardinals, with the Twins, with the White Sox. The only place I can remember he did not pitch well was with the few months he spent with the Yankees when he was absolutely freaking atrocious. Ugh, Lance Lynn. Dan Harris is with us. Great to have you with us. Not sure how many Met fans will enjoy how much fun it is. Well, that's their problem. I don't know what to tell them. Because Met fans, and again, Dan, thanks for tuning in, Dan. Always good to have you. Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports does a great job over there. Has helped me get some of the guys I've been chasing around for years for interviews. We got some good interviews coming up, by the way. Kermit Washington, as I mentioned, will be up Friday. I'm going to have Rick. I'll have where'd my list go? Here it is. I'll be doing an interview that will air the week after with Matt Robinson, former Bulldog quarterback. Led them to I think a 10-1 season in his senior year, and then played with the Jets. And I said the Browns before, but it wasn't the Browns. It was somebody else. Then we'll have Jim Kern at some point. Jim's was sick, and we got to reschedule a little bit. We got Chuck Foreman coming up very soon, and also Irving Fryer, former Patriot and Dolphin and Nebraska Cornhusker great, we'll have on soon too. So thank you for that. And as far as the Mets fans go, they're the ones that I'm talking about. When you sit and you bitch and moan, excuse my French, about players and they don't care about anything but the money, but then they go play for the pride of their country, and now we're going to rip them for that because a team that's paying you loses out on your services. Shit happens. No, they can't. Oh, no, we're getting to a little bit now. But the basketball and women's, they can't. I'll agree with Teddy here, Kenny. I don't want to belabor this point too much because who knows? Facebook will probably kick us all off. The best women will never beat the best men. But that doesn't mean the best women can't beat any men. But also, I guess Teddy's talking about basketball and women's. Basketball is smaller than the men's, but the rim is the same size, and it's easier to make a basket in the women's because the ball is smaller. Okay, that's fair enough, I guess. But again, they don't dunk. They don't have the same. Listen, it's a better fundamental game. They have to do well. They can't just run up and down the floor and dunk and throw up 3-pointers. Although some of these women are really good 3-point shooters. And listen, I've been a fan of a lot. Sue Bird is one of the best college and professional players I ever watched play. But again, matching them up against the men isn't going to work. Title IX was well intended, but illogical. Well, here's the other. Yeah, so logical. Well, let's not get into that whole debate. But we also have other problems with women's sports today, as they're not all women. I don't think we've had that leak into major college competition. I don't think. But I know we've had it in swimming and tennis, and whatever. I mean, again, it's a world I don't recognize some days. Japan would make a better story, I feel. You're probably right, Dan. I mean, I think either one's any of these teams is a good story. And I think any of these teams could win. I think Japan's the best team. Here, obviously, it's a better story if the U.S. wins. And by the way, Dan, I got to tell you, since we're on this topic, I know this isn't your fault, but you got some pull over there in Great Britain. They got to do something about the uniforms when they play again. I know baseball's not the national pastime, but you need something other than uniforms where somebody was ironing on the Great Britain on the front of it before the games. And one of the games, a pitcher's tee in Britain fell right off his shirt on the mound. I mean, oh my God, they were the worst uniforms I think I've ever seen. Oh, sorry. Anyway, Dan, see what you can do about that, would you? It does look as though Velope will be the starting. It may be the starting. He should be. The only thing I see here as a possibility, and I don't know what the service time situation is with him, but it's possible the Yankees could send him down for a month to save that service time, which for some reason you're not aware, it would put off his eligibility for arbitration and in turn free agency down the road another year if they send him to the minors for X amount of time. It is possible they'll play that game, but I do see him being a starting shortstop soon. And I think Peraza will play a lot too. And maybe it'll be second base. I mean, to me, in the best case scenario, Velope and Peraza are ready to play. And they play shortstop and second base for a long time. I can move DJ to third base and get the frickin' loser Donaldson out of the lineup. And maybe Cabrera can replace Hicks most nights in left field. Well, the problem is now I don't have a center field either because Bader's out, who didn't play in a World Baseball Classic, by the way, and he's still out for 6 weeks. Let's just, if we want to continue that injury conversation. So, yes, I do think that, and I think it's good for the Yankees. I think some energy from some kids, and this has happened before. The Yankees weren't very good the year that they brought up Judge and Tyler Austin at the time, Sanchez, who we thought was going to be a good player at that point in time. But they traded away veterans, brought in kids, and got better that season because of the energy infusion. This team could use that type of energy. I think you saw Cabrera bring that type of energy when he got a chance to play. And the problem with Cabrera playing left field every day, by the way, is he's going to be valuable everywhere. He can play almost everywhere on the diamond except catcher and pitcher. And I don't know, the Yankees still in the end. But again, if Peraza can play second base, I can free up to trade Gleyber Torres for a left fielder or a third baseman. Or maybe I don't need a third baseman. I got DJ. Cabrera is really going to be a valuable player playing everywhere. I'm about to be canceled. Well, that probably won't be the first time, Dan. Did I say Jets, GM, Swami? I haven't said Jets yet. We'll get to the Jets in a little bit. Let me finish up some baseball chatter, and we'll we'll move on to the Jets. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Aaron Rodgers saga, which continues. I mean, he says he's a Jet, but he's not until Green Bay says he is. Is bitch a French word? I think it is. I'm not fluent in French. I'm barely fluent in English, as you know, Drew. So I really can't speak to the origin of the word. I think it might be the English. Dan, can you speak up on that? Oh, God. Kenny, so the gauntlet has been thrown. I wasn't dissing you, just making a statement. No, I knew that. I know. It's funny the way I read it. I don't think a physical thing in basketball, just a height difference. I do think it's physical, though. There aren't many 7-foot women, that's for sure. There aren't that many 7-foot guys that play anymore either. The game's changed. There's not that many Eddies out there. The game's changed a lot. They don't want that lumbering big man anymore. They want guys who are athletic, which he's not bad. He looks worse than he is. But I mean, again, I don't think they have. I'm gonna get myself in so much trouble with, Paula's listening, I'm sure. I just don't think women have the same athleticism as guys. Some do. Some are great athletes. Don't get me wrong. I am not dissing women in general. I'm just saying the best against the best. And again, I agree, Kenny, that there's some really good women in softball. Certainly could have beat our softball team. D1 college baseball has its first female playing this week. She's on probably the worst program in D1, but a nice PR stunt. I don't have a problem with females playing men's sports. I just don't think but I don't even know if I have a problem with men playing female sports. I have a problem with men playing female sports when they're pretending not to be pretending. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I got to get off this topic. Let's move on. Volpe, whatever. I didn't say Velope, did I? I said Velope. Vlope. I've done this. I've listened to his freaking pronunciation 20 times, and I swear to God, my ears hear it. It's almost like that Yanni and what's that Yanni and what's that Yanni thing? I'm just going to call him Anthony from now on. I'll call him AV, and then I'm all set. AV, part of the AV club. Good morning, Billy. If I didn't say good morning to you, good morning. We'll get to the Jets in a second, so stick around. Don't forget to check back here after the show. The link will be after feed, non-live comments, selection, everyone for weekly fantasy baseball. Yeah, jump in. Guys, we'll have some fun with it. And I don't think CA originally he wanted to do a daily, but I think he realized the grind that it is. And doing a daily already, I do not want to do it. I will have some fun with a weekly one though, where I can set my, pick up players, set my team for a week and be done with it. So we'll do that. So guys, please, Rick, Drew, jump in there. We'll have some fun. French or Spanish at Perth. I was illiterate in all of those and English and even math at Perth. Is it a physical thing? I agree. I have to agree. I want to get off this topic though, because Paula said bitch is not French. Well, Paula would know. She's a teacher. I was kidding. I didn't think it was French. I don't know the origin of the word. I know what it is. Technically, I do know what it is. But I don't know if it's an English word. So it's a stunt. Then why are they coaching in almost all men's professional sports? I don't think that's a stunt. And there's even some women playing in college football. There's a woman at Vanderbilt who was a field goal kicker. Got a chance to kick. I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year. Not this past year, but 2 years ago, I should say. So anyway, good stuff. Good topics, guys. Gonna get me kicked right off Facebook. That's all right. Won't be the first time. I still don't know why I got kicked off the first time. My show was just disappeared. My show page just disappeared. Oh, Couple of news items. Lars Nootbaar, pepper grinder move, unwelcomed in Japanese high school tournament. What is this about? The fun-loving gesture by the St. Louis Cardinals outfielder does not appear to be welcome in Japan's popular high school tournament. He twisted his. Oh, it's a different guy. So a player at a high school in Japan twisted his two fists together, imitating Nootbaar. Nootbaar. Am I saying that right, Drew? After getting on first base Saturday, and the umpire told him to stop. Can't you have fun? Why can't we have fun? Just have fun. I don't see anything wrong with that. Oh, my God. Let me change my banner, by the way. I moved on to something else here. I haven't even changed my banner once. Oh, what do we got? We talked about last night's USA win. Great win for Mark DeRosa's team and Trey Turner. Venezuela deflated after Altuve's injury, WBC exit. How bad's he hurt? Right hand injury, never good. I don't know how long they're talking about him being out. Doesn't really say here. We held the innings of fifth inning. We knew. We found. Oh, he suffered a fracture. So he's going to be out a bit. That'll hurt the Astros a little bit. So going to be a little issue there. By the way, Drew, you and I got to get together and schedule. We're running out of time here, and I want to get something for the months out. We'll schedule a day and time, if you're still willing to do it, with our Major League Baseball preview, which has been a big hit the last few years. We've gotten a ton of hits off that the last few years. So thank you to the groups that let me share that. Major League Baseball head Tony Clark says the rule changes could look different in the season. Oh, well, sure. Again, why do we have these rules? He claims the baseball rule changes would have gone more smoothly during spring training if players' thoughts had been incorporated. I don't disagree, like not doing it. Why do we need a pitch clock? Why do we need to eliminate the shift? Why do we need bigger bases? Why do we eliminate pickoff plays? First of all, you want the offense to improve because you want to have more stolen base attempts. Stupid. Artificial way to try, you think, Rob Manfred and ilk, to improve a game that doesn't need improving that direction. It needs to improve in pace of play and batter's approaches to hitting. That's what needs to be improved. Stop listening to video game freaking distributors telling you how this game ought to be played. You've got rules in the books to improve the pace of play. Just enforce them. And as far as the hitting and the shift goes, how about guys just teach guys to hit the ball where the players aren't? That's the way it's only been done for 150 years. But I guess that isn't good enough for Major League Baseball. You're already seeing guys starting to exploit some of these rules, and it'll get ugly, just like everything does in Major League Baseball. Has it improved the pace of play? I'm sure it has. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I do remember seeing something a week or so ago where they knocked 20 minutes off the average game or something like that. But still. Nick Martinez, that's the guy I was trying to think of with San Diego. He left the WBC and he's returned back to San Diego so that he can pitch, which I think is a good idea. I mean, one thing where I can say there might be some downside to the WBC, especially it's the time of year that it's played, right? But when else are you going to play it? You can't play it after the season when these guys have had a long grind. You can't stop the Major League Baseball season for 2 weeks. But some of these pitchers, if they're going to sit around and not pitch, and I'm sure they still have their work that they do in between, just like they would have it in spring training. Let me see what we got here. Crazy, Kenneth. Males are overwhelmingly superior before each. Oh my God, I got to get off this before I get canceled by the women. Listen, I'll end this. I'm not going to put up any more comments about women versus men. Maybe we'll have a whole show about that. I'm just saying the best women can't compete against the best men. Man, don't throw Billie Jean King at me. She beat a freaking 60-year-old man. 55, whatever he was. Newt Bar is correct, indeed. I'm 1 for 2. I'm 1 for about 50, but that's a different story. Thank you for that. Remember, they used black players as a stunt that backfired, and that wasn't a stunt. And I don't think that's a fair comparison either. I mean, women aren't banned. Women aren't banned from playing Major League Baseball or major sports. They were banned from playing baseball until Jackie Robinson, and it wasn't a stunt. Jackie Robinson was a great player. Jackie Robinson was the best player on that team when he got there. That wasn't a stunt. I don't think that's a fair comparison either. Myself. Oh, no. Can't go on, guys. I can't do this anymore. Why not just put the ball on a tee? Kenny doesn't like baseball anymore. No, I want to teach hitters how to hit the ball correctly, which means you hit the ball where people aren't. You don't just try to hit it through the shift. You don't just try to hit it over the shift. You don't just strike out every third time you're up. 3 ultimate outcomes, right? 3 true outcomes, right, Drew? Bullshit. Oh, I did it again. I have a tough day today. I'm in one of those moods. Hey, Ken Boy, humanity can have equality. All right, I'm done. Guys, no more. I'm going to leave you. You guys can continue your conversation in the comments. I'm just not going to go down this road anymore. I've expressed my feelings. I've let you express yours. And I don't want Paula coming and looking for me and beating the crap out of me, or my wife, or Drew's wife. I only fight with young children and old ladies. Oh gosh, another injury in spring training's been downgraded. The Mets and Brandon Nemo. He's got a sprained knee and ankle. Will be evaluated on a week-to-week basis. Boy, I'm glad I picked him up. But I guess I thought I saw that this was downgraded a little bit from what they originally thought it was, and he might only miss a few weeks. So we'll see how that works out. Sergio Romo signed with the Giants. This is an interesting story. Usually guys sign with a team if they want to retire. So he signed with a team so he could retire. And usually they have a press conference and they just retire. But he's going to play some. He's going to be a member of the team at the end of spring training, and then he's going to retire. March 27th during their final spring training game against the Oakland A's. I think it's a pretty cool thing. I don't even know if he'll get to pitch, but it's interesting that he'll be there, and maybe that's a good way to do it. So it's kind of cool. What else is going on in Major League Baseball I wanted to chat about? We talked about the spring news. What other topics you got before I move on to the NFL and then whatever else we got to chat about? Okay, why don't I have here we go. I'm just looking for some other topics I may not have touched on. Did Kate Cavalli get hurt during the WBC, by the way? Yeah, I don't, maybe he did. No, he wasn't pitching. I sorry, Joe, when you put that injury up, I thought you were saying he got hurt as part of the WBC. He wasn't playing there. Oh, I'm being truthful. No, your opinions are welcome here, Kenny. I just didn't want to belabor the point. That's all. It's all testosterone on this show, Kenny. Kenny, I'm not muting you. You know that. I've never muted you on this show. It's just not a topic we're going to solve here in this next 40 minutes. So it's all good, though. You're fine. You know me. You're never going to get muted on this show. But I think we talked about it long enough today. If you want, we'll do a whole show about it. But we won't. They're not experts on this stuff. I mean, you coach women, so you know that they're good athletes. And I've said they're good athletes. They're just, again, the best women will never be as good as the best men. Maybe one. I mean, could Sue Bird, I mean, I have to take Sue Bird. Sue Bird's one of my favorite athletes, so it isn't like I don't like women athletes either. And if I took her against a player comparable size, so you can't have her play LeBron James in one-on-one, right? But I don't know, if you had her play against who? I don't know. Let's say Brunson from the Knicks. I don't think she's going to win that one-on-one battle. Petra Paula's jumping up and down. Don't give her my address. That's why you should go to all the class reunions, Kenny. You should go to all the class reunions, Ken. You'd be the star of the show. Just wear shoes. That's all I'm asking you. I'm not going. Rick, do you go, by the way? Because I've never been. I don't know why. I don't know. Just can't get excited about it. Anyway, let's move on to some football, shall we? I want to get through some stuff. We got to talk about some NFL news. We got to get through some free agency stuff, the Aaron Rodgers stuff. I got an interesting question. One of the free agents that got signed this week was Baker Mayfield, signed with Tampa Bay. Not for a bunch of money. Well, relatively speaking. But I just watched an interview, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago with the GM for Tampa Bay, who said he was very happy going with Kyle Trask as their starting quarterback. In fact, he would have been very happy to go with Kyle Trask if Tom Brady had stayed retired last year. I don't think they brought Baker Mayfield in here to be the backup. And I'm not saying they're wrong because, Kyle Trask hasn't had a chance to play. That team's going to be bad. That whole division is going to be bad. That NFC, unless Carolina does something in the draft and quarterback-wise, it looks like they're going for C.J. Stroud right now. I still think they should take Will Levis, but that's just me. You could see a surprise team. You can see Atlanta, for instance, who I like what they did in free agency. I still think Desmond Ridder won't be the quarterback. They did bring in Taylor Henneke to be to compete with him, I'm sure. But that team could be a surprise and win that division because it's going to be bad. New Orleans maybe will be better, but I don't like what they've done in free agency. I mean, they got Derek Carr, so they got a better quarterback. But again, Derek Carr's not taking you. Maybe he finds a way to win that division and get to a playoff game and lose. Maybe. Oh, sorry. Pats do sign another tight end. They got rid of Jonnu Smith and bring in what's his name? Gesicki from the Dolphins, who wasn't very good last year. He's had a couple good years through his career. I mean, to me, him and Hunter Henry are kind of the same player, and maybe they're at the same point in their career. So I don't know that this is a big upgrade. I think the Patriots will probably we'll look at some of the free agent stuff that was done. I'm not crazy about what the Patriots have done. I mean, they let Jacoby Myers go over and sign Juju Smith-Schuster for basically the same money they would have had to pay Jacoby Myers. They look at Jacoby Myers' injury issues, I think, the last few years, and his overall numbers are better in his career than Jacoby Myers, but those numbers were also mostly accumulated before the last couple of years. I would tell you right now that Jacoby Myers is a better player than Juju Smith-Schuster, and I cannot believe that that's going to be our marquee free agent signing. Jacoby Myers may not be a game breaker, but he's a guy that moves the chains and he catches everything you throw to him. Everything. He's had some injury issues the last few years. I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster for Jacoby Myers makes this a better team in any way, shape, or form. Of course, the other big news in the NFL is, Aaron Rodgers announced, obviously a week ago, Friday, I guess now, that, he'll be a Jet next year. But no trade's been made. Both these teams think they're dealing from a position of strength. The Packers think since Aaron Rodgers is, since he came out of the cave and saw his shadow and decided, I'm going to play and I want to play for the Jets, that they've got the Jets over a barrel because they've got to make this move. And they do, by the way. Not a Jet fan, far from an Aaron Rodgers fan. I don't like his drama queen nonsense. I think he could be a disaster potentially in New York. But if I'm the Jets, with all the talent that I have on that team, that defense is ready to win now. They've got really good skill position players around him. They brought Lazard in from Green Bay to add to that complement. And if Hall comes back healthy, the running game is good. The only thing they don't have is a quarterback. And there is no plan B. All their plan Bs are signed somewhere else. Lamar Jackson's not coming here, guys. He's been franchised. They're not moving him. They can't get anybody in the draft. Now, you could sit Zach Wilson. Maybe if Zach Wilson sits a few years behind Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers, for all his faults, and Green Bay did give him everything he asked for within reason, because they didn't have money to pay a lot of guys because they pay him $50 to $60 million a year. But you still, even with all of that, I still take a chance because he was good with Jordan Love. He did help Jordan Love to be in a position where Green Bay's confident going forward with him as their quarterback. Whether it works out or not is yet to be seen. So maybe playing and learning a little bit from Aaron Rodgers will help Zach Taylor. And maybe he'll still be the Jets quarterback in the future. But there is no plan B. There's no plan B for Rodgers either. Green Bay thinks they're dealing from a position of strength, but they have to move Rodgers to the Jets. Because he's not going to retire and forfeit, $50 or $60 million. He's going to let them cut him. If they don't trade him to the Jets, they cut him and they got to pay him. And he'll count he'll count significantly against the cap next year. So, and it's not like he can come back. So I think it's Green Bay who's got themselves their back up against the wall here in this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, I don't. As I said, that is not a good trade for me. I don't understand it, and they're not done by all accounts. They're still, and there's an interesting story I read today in one of the Boston papers. They're still chasing DeAndre Hopkins. They're still chasing Judy from Denver, but they're going to have to give up assets, whether it's draft capital or players or both, to get either one of those guys. But interestingly enough, there's an interesting rumor that not a rumor, it's a real thing that DeAndre Hopkins started following Mac Jones and vice versa this past week, and Jones did the same thing with Jensky. I'm saying his name wrong. Sorry. What's his name? I'll learn his name eventually. Gesicki. And also some other players that recently joined the Juju Smith-Schuster and some other guys that the Patriots recently brought in. Mac Jones on Instagram started following them. So Mac Jones' Instagram account now has become a look at the future moves by the Patriots. So it'll be very interesting to see now if DeAndre Hopkins becomes a Patriot. I'm sure if that happens, there'll be all kinds of tampering charges because of this following, and because, it's a trade, so maybe there wouldn't be tampering charges. But Bill Belichick this past year when they played the Cardinals is on on video having a conversation, and he and DeAndre Hopkins were having a love fest. Basically, they love each other. They told each other, love you, man, love you, man. So apparently that'll be, I'm sure the NFL will find some way to turn that into something. By the way, the Cardinals after free agency and before the draft, assuming DeAndre Hopkins is out of there, which I got to believe he is, that may be the worst roster in the NFL right now. Not to all the crash union. Want to go this year. Brother Bob, John, Creature, and I will take care of Kenny. I know Bob and John and Mike Plunkett are staples at the all years reunions, but I don't know. Maybe I'll go this year. We'll see. We'll talk about it, Rick. Don't let me forget about it. I don't know. Minshew Mania in Indy. Yeah, there should be. So the Eagles pivot to Mariota. I know. By the way, if you're a Colts fan and you think Gardner Minshew is going to lead you to the promised land, sorry, ain't happening. Jacoby Myers is not leading Washington to the promised land. He'll probably get beat out by Sam Howell. Nice player. And by the way, I think the Eagles get hurt a lot in free agency. They lose Hargrave to the 49ers. They lose one of their best defensive backs as well. I don't know. Oh, they lost Miles Sanders as well. He might have gone to the Colts too. I can't remember where he signed. Or was that Carolina? We'll look at some of that in a minute. You want to bet you get some emails from women about this? Of course I will. It's okay. Mike White backs up Tua. Lazard signs with, Mike White, listen, Mike White very likely is going to have to play this year because I don't think Tua's going to be in the league more than another year because anybody who gets his bell rung that much in a year, he's bound to have it happen again. Mike White's going to have to play. And Mike White's problem is durability. I think he can play in this league, but he can't stay healthy. Dan Harrison and I talked about this, and, he's thinking that, Mike White could maybe parlay this move to the Dolphins and a chance to play a little bit when Tua is out into a bridge quarterback situation somewhere else. But Mike White hasn't shown he can stay in a field for more than 2 games in a row. So I'm not crazy about that. Lazard signed to lure Rodgers. Well, again, the rumor is that Rodgers gave the Jets a list of players that he wants, and Lazard was on it. But I think they were after Lazard anyway. And Lazard's a nice player. I think he'll complement the rest of these receivers very well. And I think he's better, certainly better than Braxton Berrios, who also signed with the Dolphins yesterday, I believe. But he wants him to sign Mercedes Lewis, who is like same age as me, to play tight end. They already have a tight end. If they're going to let him come in here and start dictating terms, now things are going to start getting ugly early. I still say it's a good risk for the Jets because what's to lose? You're not going to win the next 2 years if you don't make this move. You are good enough to win now, and the window of opportunity is not that big for most teams. Case Keenum is now on Texans. Case Keenum's made a pretty good career because he's been on about 12 teams, hasn't he, Drew? The huge news, Stidham back up to Wilson in Denver. You laugh, he's getting like $8 million to do it. I wish I had just a little bit of talent because I can carry a clipboard for, $5. I'll carry it for like $4 million. I'll carry it for $2 million. They'll better find out he don't need it. He better not have to play. Rodgers, well, he's either going to do that or he's going to retire, Kenny, because there is no place else. Nobody else has expressed any interest in Rodgers, and he can't go back to Green Bay. So he's not going to retire and forfeit $50 million. The only thing he can do in this case is if the Jets don't want him, they can't work out a trade. The Packers would cut him and they'll have to pay him. He can't go back to Green Bay. And then if he becomes a free agent, that's really good for the Jets because they could pay him the minimum, league minimum. That's all he'd have to pay him. He'll be the Jet quarterback because there's no other option for either one of them. Jets don't have a plan B. And I'm not saying believe me, I know you have no love for Rodgers. I have no love for Rodgers. But, if I'm a Jet fan and I want to take a chance at winning, he's my best chance. No, I don't think this is his fault. The Packers made it clear they want to move on, and I think he probably said the same thing, but, his salary and his age and, his cultism have limited his options. It's not hard to figure out. The Jets need a signal caller, and that is in line with Garoppolo. What's that mean? Need a signal that is in line with Garoppolo. But there are none. Nate, tell me who it is. Garoppolo's playing in Las Vegas. Derek Carr's playing with the Saints. Ryan Tannehill stinks. Who else are they bringing in here? They're screwed. It's Rodgers or another lost season for the Jets. How do Philip Dorsett and Paris Campbell keep getting signed? Garoppolo to Vegas. Elliott release is not a surprise to me because of cap issues. And Pollard's a better player. They could bring Elliott back. Don't forget. Penny to the Eagles. No, Penny, he's another guy. If I'm the Eagles, I can't be choosing, and I know it's probably a salary thing, right? But I can't be choosing Penny over Sanders. Why do you break up a good thing over money? These guys have cap specialists where they can get away with anything and make them keep themselves under the cap. Philip Dorsett, by the way, I have to agree. How's this guy even in the league? I watch this guy play with the Patriots. He's no good. He was no good then. He's no good now. He's another guy who's been on about 10 teams. Unbelievable. You guys are doing a great job today. I don't even have to dive anything. We'll just go with your comments. Vikings have done a great job in free agency with major cap issues. Lost some longtime players, but your defense could not be any worse. Good moves. Let's take a look since you bring that up. Let's take a quick look. What'd I do? Where'd my page go? Oh, shit. Is it this one? What the hell? We'll just... I'll have to open up a new page. Hold on. It's got to be this one. There we go. All right, let's jump. Let's jump to your team, Rick, and see what they did. Anybody else wants to look at their team, just bring it up. Alexander Mattison agreed to terms to a 2-year deal with the Vikings. The Vikings' decision to guarantee Dalvin Cook's backup more than $6 million on the first official day of free agency led to an immediate question. What does that mean? Does that mean they're done with Cook? I don't think so. And he's right. This article is right here that they're low. The NFL teams are loath to pay real money to running backs just because of their short shelf life. It's hard to avoid the conclusion knowing the NFL teams are low to, as I said, pay real money to one running back, let alone two. Madison had the fewest touches of his career last season as Cook stayed healthy for all 17 games. Why would Madison return for another season of that? So that's interesting. Are the Vikings going to move on from Dalvin Cook? Now I can look at the rest of this. So who else did they sign here? We talked about Madison already. Udo, offensive tackle, agreed to terms on a one-year deal. Not bad. Dean Lowry, defensive tackle. Defensive tackles are getting paid quite a bit of money. What did he get? I don't see his money here. He signed a 2-year contract. I don't see the money in here, but defensive tackles are getting overpaid because there's really none. Well, there's a couple. It's a very weak draft for defensive tackles specifically. So defensive tackles have done pretty well in free agency. Byron Murphy, cornerback, good move. 2-year deal that includes a $7 million signing bonus and only a $1.1 million base salary for 23, which is important given Rick's comments about the salary cap. And he'll replace Patrick Peterson, who I'm sure was making a boatload more money than $1.1 million. Marcus Davenport, defensive end. Another nice pick. His sack totals, he's sacked 21, got 21 sacks in 5 seasons, but only half a sack last year. So not sure. His talent and production hasn't matched his draft position, but it is it is somebody that, sometimes a little change of scenery can help in those areas. Austin Schlottman, offensive lineman. He'll stay in Minnesota. Greg Joseph, a kicker. Don't remember who their kicker was last year, but Joseph is like pretty much every other kicker in the NFL. He goes through waves of being good and then being bad. Garrett Bradbury is center. He'll return on a 3-year deal. Good move there. Nick Mullins, he agreed to stay. I like Mullins is a good, solid backup. Can carry a clipboard as well as anybody. Long snapper Andrew DePola, he'll return to the Vikings. Josh Oliver has agreed to terms. I believe they're moving on from Irv Smith, who I think has trouble staying on the field, which is their big deal. And they signed a safety, Harrison Smith, that'll keep the defender with the team. Anything else? I think that's it. There's other stuff there, Rick. We can certainly jump into it. Brissett is definitely he's definitely the answer. Listen, Jacoby Brissett is another guy who should be in the NFL as a backup. He can come in and play a game or two if he has to, finish a game, and win those games. But he can't come in and play a significant amount of time or you're not going to win. Patriots knew that. The Colts figured that out. The Dolphins figured that out. The Browns not only brought him in to be a stopgap until the rapist came back. His name doesn't get mentioned on my show. Deontay Foreman replaces Montgomery in Chicago. Oh, God. I thought Chicago did a good job, though, by the way. Chicago, let's look at that real quick because I really think Chicago did a good job this year. It's one of those teams, and I think you may see them make it leap forward next year. Let's get to Chicago so I can look at some of the stuff they did. Great job getting Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo. 4 years, $72 million. The defense in Buffalo was one of their biggest problems. They need targets for the quarterback to throw to. They need offensive line help. They need a running back. I don't know that Deontay Foreman. Deontay Foreman is going to be the answer, but we'll see how that goes. What they give him, by the way, 1-year deal, nothing to get hurt too much. But they do have Travis Homer as well, who's got some pass catching ability, and he pass blocks better than probably Montgomery or Foreman. I like Travis Homer, former Miami Hurricane, by the way. Robert Tonyan, tight end. Again, I think that's a decent pickup. He had his moments with Green Bay, but very, very up and down. He did have 52 catches in his best year, which is 2020, which just seems like a gazillion years ago now. But they do have another tight end on the roster. So a lot of teams want to go with these 2 tight end sets, and he'll be the second best pass catcher Chicago brought in. They also brought in DJ Moore as well this week. And Tanya's had some injury issues as well. Andrew Billings, defensive tackle. I like this move a lot. I think that's a good move. PJ Walker, quarterback, and don't care. Somebody's got to cover the clipboard. carry the clipboard. I talked about Travis Homer. I think he's going to be a really good addition to that backfield. DeMarcus Walker, another good defensive lineman, and Tremaine Edmonds that I mentioned, probably the marquee player that they signed. Nate Davis to the offensive line. They need offensive line help, as I already mentioned. TJ Edwards, another nice player that they signed for that defensive squad. So, again, I think the Bears are a team that could make a jump next year. When you're going to see Green Bay come back to the pack, you're going to see Lions. Well, the Lions might mature and learn from their moving up the ladder last year, but we'll have to see how that works out. Montgomery muddles the running back waters in Detroit, and Dalton is Dalton's the answer in Carolina. Carolina is drafting a quarterback. If they want to draft a quarterback, here's the problem. There's 4 guys that are going to go in the first round. Stroud, oh my God. No, who's God? All of a sudden, I'm blanking on the Alabama quarterback. Will Levis and Richardson, who I don't understand. I understand this kid has got great athletic ability, but he was very up and played very little in college, had very little success in my mind, and teams are taking a giant leap of faith that they can turn this kid's great athletic ability into the next Lamar Jackson or the next even Josh Fields. I'm not picking this kid in the first round, but he's probably going to go in the top 10 now. I don't get it. And to me, if I want a guy, if I'm Carolina, and yeah, you already got Andy Dalton. Maybe Andy Dalton's going to play this year because they're probably going to draft C.J. Stroud. Do not think he's ready to play in the NFL now, and it might take him 2 years, 3 years to be able to play. You're not going to win games with Andy Dalton. Team's not good anyway. I still think Will Levis, again, if Will Levis can find his way to a team that's ready to maybe make a move and improve, he may be to steal his draft because he's the most ready quarterback to play day one. Rick, we're still on the. It's just that no one remembers. It's just not what one remembers. People who you like are totally different than you remember. Yeah. You're about the same, no, Kenny. That's a good thing. I feel like I'm the same person I was in high school. That's part of my problem. I haven't grown up. Well, not every web gets protected like Brady. Oh God, you guys are. It's so funny. You guys think Brady got protected the way you think he did. Maybe you didn't watch him play this year under great duress, and he certainly didn't play well because he's not the player that he was. But Tom Brady got hit and creamed as much as any freaking quarterback in football through his Patriot career. Amazing. Chase Edmonds on the move yet again to Tampa Bay, and Darnold gets but Darnold's not going to get a chance though, Drew. I mean, either Trey Lance is going to step up, or Purdy is going to be, assuming he's healthy. Purdy's going to be the starter. Sam Darnold's had enough chances. He did play better last year near the end of the season when he came back. But, I look at San Francisco. He's just there. He may not even be on the team when they start the season. And this is a big training camp and off season for Trey Lance, I think, for San Francisco. The Waller trade, I think that was a good trade. Listen, I think the Giants didn't do a bad job this year either, by the way. Still no wide receiver. They did bring back Derek Slayton and Shepard. Now, if those guys are healthy, they can provide some production in that wide receiver slot. And Waller is a year removed from being one of the best tight ends in football. I think it's a great trade for the Giants. I would have to agree with you there 100%. Where did all this player control, the team mentality start? Where did all this player control of the team mentality start? Well, I don't think there is a lot of it. Rodgers, I think, is the guy who started this. You know, some Yahoo's going to say Tom Brady. Tom Brady never controlled the team mentality. I mean, Tom Brady sacrificed for the team year after year in all his years with the Patriots. Aaron Rodgers never did that. I would think Aaron Rodgers is one of the first guys to really kind of start this type of nonsense. I'm sure he's not. I'm sure if we think hard enough, we'd find other guys, but feel free to throw some names up. Never. Well, I don't know. I mean, right now, I think they probably want a veteran, for the third string quarterback. And Hoyer's a good guy to have in the room. They probably can sign him for each less. Every time they've signed him, it's been for less money, Drew. They got Bailey Zappi to be the backup. So I think Hoyer, if there's a chance Hoyer comes back, and I do think Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick are going to want a veteran presence in that quarterback room. So it could very well be Hoyer. And again, I've said this forever. Nobody carries a clipboard better than Brian Hoyer. Just don't let him put the clipboard down and pick up a football. Davenport with the Saints was the 12th pick. Yeah. Again, that's what I was saying. He again, I think it's a good risk, Rick. Because again, sometimes these kids, there's pressure on them from the rookie contract. There's pressure on their draft position to perform, and they're not in a good situation to do so. And maybe moving to a new scheme and a new coaching staff will help him. Kirk and Smith took huge pay cuts. Did Irv Smith come back? I didn't see him listed. Take a quick look maybe before we wrap up at the best free agents still out there. Snowing like crazy up on the mountain, Kenny says. I don't think we're getting any here. We had some flurries overnight. Nothing major. Oh, sorry. Playing golf again? In the snow? Lions have had a good offseason so far. Lions, what have they done? Back it up. Take a look at the Lions. As I said, we'll look at any team you guys want to look at. So let's take a look at the Lions. Oops, that's Denver. I probably could have done that easier than what I just did. Detroit. They did bring in David Montgomery, which is not a bad move, but as Drew said, it does kind of muddle that backfield a little bit. So if you're trying to pick running backs, it might be a little tough there. And I think Jamal Williams is either signed or is signing elsewhere. Did he sign? Let me see. Let me click on him. See, did he sign somewhere? I thought I saw that he signed. He signed with the Saints, it looks like. There you go. Not a bad place for Jamal. Let's see. Who else did they sign? Cameron Sutton, cornerback from Pitt. I think that's a good pickup for their defense. They need help on that defense for sure. And they picked up Emmanuel Mosley, Mosley from 49ers to play cornerback. Isaiah Buggs, another defensive tackle, getting paid this year. Not a bad move. All offense except for Montgomery. All defense except for Montgomery. Alex Anzalone. Help me out. Matt Nielsen, offensive line. John Kaminsky, defensive end. Graham Gaslow, a guard. Craig Reynolds, running back. Will Harris, cornerback. I like Will Harris. That's not a bad deal there. Michael Badgley, kicker. Again, he kicked a former Miami Hurricane, by the way. So, again, listen, Detroit made some great strides last year. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Richardson is not a first-round pick. Well, he was a first. Oh, you were talking about Richardson. He's not. I said before, when I saw him at 18 or 19, I thought that's crazy. And now I keep hearing some of these teams might take a flyer on him sooner, and he might be a top 10 pick. Great athlete. He had about 2 good games in Florida that I can remember. Played well early in the season last year. Played really well against Utah in the opener. I know that. But teams are enamored with his talent. Not his talent, but his athleticism, not so much his quarterback aptitude. It's wrong. Kill that guy. Yeah, look at this is the problem with the combine. They go there and they measure things that aren't important. Well, they're important, I shouldn't say. But for quarterbacks, it's not. Nobody had a worse combine in the history of football than Tom Brady. End of story. Levis and Young might be the Bryce Young. Thank you. Jeez, I don't know how I faded on that. CJ Stroud is going to have to sit at least a couple years in my mind, and Richardson is never going to play. If he does, I don't know. Maybe he does something crazy like Slash. What's his name? Played with Cordell Stewart. Played with the Steelers years ago. Maybe something like that happens. I don't know, but I don't see him being a impact player ever. And I love Will Levis. Somebody's going to fall in. And maybe not money wise, but Will Levis, probably the further he falls in the draft, the better it is for him, because he's going to get to a better team. Hey, Dalton can do the job for the Jets. But he's already been traded, he's already signed with the Panthers. So unless they're going to trade him. Northeast Streaming Sports is with us. Good morning again. Hi, Keith. It's all about the pub and how a player looks, not how he plays. Yeah, well, that's probably why some of these teams are constantly at the top of the draft. Right? Thanks for joining us this morning, Mac, or I think it's Mac or Linda, whoever it might be. Started in the NBA. As far as play, yes, I will agree with that, CA. That's probably where players taking control. LeBron wanted to be the GM of the last 3 teams he's been on. Stephen Gilmore did move to, I think he's pretty much done, though. He was one of the best cornerbacks in football, but he's a shell of the player that he was, 3 or 4 years ago. Injuries have mounted and continue to come, and I'm not sure how much he's going to help the Cowboys. Davenport's a quality pickup for the Vikings cap issues, definitely, and they're going to have cap room after this season for sure. Ohio State never – Kenny gets in his stock comment. Ohio State has never had any good quarterback in the NFL. The kid from Chicago has the best chance. He might be the best already. Art Schlichter was a better gambler than he was a quarterback, and not saying much because he was a horrible gambler who ended up going to prison because he had to steal money to pay his gambling debts. I got to go back in time. There's got to be a quarterback that made it. Oh, actually, you know what? Oh, you said in the NFL. I was going to say Ohio State's never had a quarterback that made it, that was any good. I was going to say Kirk Creepstreet's a pretty good analyst. Patrick Peterson continues on with Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers, maybe this year's the year they finish under 500. We'll see. Right, started the NBA with the great Bill Russell. There's probably there's probably a case to be made for that. But it wasn't prevalent then, right? I mean, Russell, you got to remember, Russell became the coach too. So Red Auerbach brought in all those players, all those great players to play around Bill Russell. And then Bill Russell coached them later. and had a lot of say. So you might be right. But it didn't become as prevalent until more recent times. And it might be LeBron James. What was wrong with Pags? He was super quiet. I don't think Pags could get a word in. We're having a little trouble with the audio, I think. And I probably dominated some of the conversation because of NCAA and we weren't talking Philadelphia. Just kidding. Maybe he didn't feel good. Rex Kearns from Ohio State. He made he's talking about quarterbacks, though. Neil. So, was he a quarterback in college? I don't remember. He didn't make it a quarterback. I'm trying to think who the best quarterback is. Let me take a quick look at that, Kenny. We're going to go we can go a few minutes long here. Put up a few more comments. We'll go a little longer. QBs from Ohio State. Let's see what we get. Troy Smith, Bobby Hoying, Joe Germain. They all had decent careers. Tom Tupa. I'll give you Tom Tupa. He's a great punter. Terrell Pryor became a wide receiver. Mike Tomczak might be the best. Rex Kern did play a different position, as we said. I got 11 more here. Really? Braxton Miller, no. Les Horvath, no. Kirk Creepstreet, no. Of the guys I've got here, Mike Tomczak might be the best quarterback. Kent Graham had a cup of coffee. Troy Smith played a little bit with the Ravens, I want to say. Bobby Hoying had a decent career as a backup. Joe Germain, cup of coffee. Tom Tupa and Rex Kern ended up playing well at other positions. Tom Tupa was an emergency quarterback, as well as being one of the better punters in the NFL for a long time. How much longer until every professional sports has their own podcast? A player has their own podcast. Probably not much longer. It's funny. I'm sure. Look at there's tens of millions of podcasts out there now. It's hard to get seen, right? It's hard. That's why it's hard to get traction and make any money. That's why it'd be great, you guys. I don't know what the star situation is. Somebody go. You probably got to pay for it. So if you got to pay for it, I don't want you to worry about it. If it's something that's cheap, you want to send me some stars. Send TGI Sports Talk some stars. Hey, I don't know. Maybe there's some real money in it. I have no idea. I do this for the love of it. Whatever. It's fun for me. Tomczak is rated as the best quarterback. I would say I didn't see any ratings, but I'm not surprised at that. I would say Mike Tomczak would be the greatest. The greatest. That's a bad word. The best quarterback to come out of there. Who's the best remaining free agents? That's what I wanted to take a quick look at. Then we're going to wrap it up. Guys, a few more comments. Put them out there. I'm a little surprised Dalton Schultz has not signed anywhere, by the way. And probably he's going to command a better contract than the Patriots would play. But I would rather see Dalton Schultz play with the Patriots than I would the guys they have right now. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, safety from the Eagles. He had 6 interceptions last year. He only played 12 games. Bobby Wagner, inside linebacker, still out there. A little long in the tooth at 33 years old. I am sure Bobby Wagner will hook on somewhere. Odell Beckham Jr., I really believe that he's running some kind of scam on everybody. Whole second half of the season last year, where's Odell Beckham going to sign? Is it going to be Buffalo? Is it going to be Dallas? Is it going to be the Rams? Is it going to be... I'm wondering if he's healthy. I'm wondering if he can even play. And then I'm wondering if it's worth bringing him in. Yannick Jakowi. I butchered that name. Defensive lineman from the Colts. Rock Yassin, cornerback from the Raiders, DJ Clark. From the Lions, Dalton Reisner. Clowney's still out there. I know probably not a big fan here. He'll be 30 years old. He's really, he's another guy I don't think ever reached his true potential. Marcus Peters from Baltimore, Isaiah Wynn. Goodbye, Isaiah. God bless anybody that signs this guy, because you're going to have injuries and you're going to have false starts and you're going to have holding penalties up the yazoo. So if that's what you want, please sign him. Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty good guy to have in your quarterback room. But again, Patriots are not going to sign him. You could see him on the Jets, possibly, depending on what happens with this whole Rodgers thing. And again, depending on whether they want Zach Taylor to be the backup. Well, I guess Flacco's still there, right? Leonard Floyd, outside linebacker, Donovan Smith, Connor McGovern, Frank Clark. This guy had a great postseason. Taylor Rapp, Justin Houston, Jermaine Ullminer, Melvin Ingram, John Johnson, Denzel Perryman, Kareem Hunt, another guy, problem off the field. Good third down back for somebody. Caught 35 passes last year, I think, in limited time with the Browns. Zeke Elliott, released but not signed. He's only 28 years old, but he had one of his worst years last year. He only ran for 870 yards and 3.8 yards a carry. Adam Thielen will definitely sign with somebody. He's 33 years old. Only averaged about 10 yards a catch last year. But he's another guy, like a Jacoby Myers, who catches everything you throw at him and moves the chains. Damian Harris, really good running back, lost his job to Stevenson with the Patriots. So he lost out in that. But I think he's a guy that's got some good upside for a team who needs a running back with some durability. Devin Singletary from the Buffalo Bills. Good third down back. Stars, I use a bat, but that could cause you pain, and I can't do that. Stars, I don't want pain. What does that mean? Stars, I use a bat that would cause you pain. I don't know what it means. The Rolling Herd has had more quarterbacks in the NFL. Who's the Rolling Herd? The Thundering Herd of Marshall? Who's the Rolling Herd? Playing is not Odell's holdup. Listen, something's holding him up. Either teams don't want him, and I would think somebody would speak up if that's the case. I don't think he's healthy. And he's certainly not healthy in the head. We know that. Running backs nowadays fall into a room of waiting for a key injury before getting a deal. That's true. You got some very productive running backs here in Zeke, Devin Singletary, Harris. I mean, those guys, Singletary's a really good third down back. I think you'll see these guys sign sometime during training camp for sure. But that's going to be it today, guys. Hey, it's been a great show. I want to thank all of you guys. Have been awesome today participating, rolling through the show. I have a lot of fun doing this when it goes here. Forgot the word use. I read between the lines. Anyway, I've had a great time today. As always, I enjoy doing this every week. I miss it when I'm sick or away or whatever. So this has been fun. There's sometimes I go, hey, can we fill up 2 hours? And we fill up more than 2 hours. You guys are a big part of that, and I appreciate it. Thank all the groups that will let me share this today. We've had some great. There goes my music went down. I'll start right back up. We've had some great numbers the last few weeks with this show, particularly in the College Sports Huddle. Catch the College Sports Huddle on Wednesday night. Catch the Kermit Washington interview at 6 o'clock on Thursday. Are You Serious on Friday? We'll be right back here next Sunday We'll be down to the Final Four. We'll be down to two in the Final Four that day. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the basketball. Enjoy the WBC semifinals, USA and Cuba. Have a great weekend.